Hey y'all, this is David, the Georgia photographer, and today we're going to get into the computer and we're going to look at the photos from the Costa Rica trip and see the rest of them. The first video was kind of slow, I over-described, so I'm going to reduce the amount of descriptions and go through more photos. So this time we got 40 pictures and it's going to take about the same amount of time. So let's get into this. Come on. Okay, so this first photo is of a snowy egret. These are kind of popular apparently all over the world. We even see them up in the Chattanooga area. So this isn't basically what you'd call a super special bird, but they're real pretty and they were pretty prolific in Costa Rica. The next photo is a green heron. Now I like this angle of this particular one because it shows how much blue is on their head. It's a really gorgeous bird, and this one was just perched up there watching for fish, I'm sure, but they're pretty prolific as well. But yeah, this is a green heron. Now this one is supposedly kind of special. This is a Pygmy Kingfisher, and of all the kingfishers, this one was basically the cutest. This thing is tiny. It's only about maybe 2 inches tall. It's a little bitty thing. And this is one of the ones that actually was fishing out of the water right beside the boat while we were taking photos of it. And the river guide was real excited that we was able to get photos of this little Pygmy Kingfisher. This next one is what is called a Cherry's Tannager. There's quite a few Tannagers in here, and I thought they were like all the same kind, but as I was doing my research to get their names, I started finding that these are all different versions of a Tannager. But yeah, this is a Cherry's Tannager. Now this is a full view of a snowy egret. And what makes them special is they have what they nicknamed their sandals. They have yellow sandals. they have the yellow feet but the black legs. And it's, you know, it kind of balances the creature because it has a black beak, black legs, the little yellow patch around its eye, and its yellow feet, and then a white body, and it's just real pretty. And I just happened to catch this one standing on that log. It just made for a really beautiful photo. This next photo is of some sort of bats. These bats would sleep in little rows on the back of the tree, and if you didn't know to look for them, you wouldn't see them. They would just be invisible. You had to look close to even notice them. Like, he got right up on them before I could even find them. They're little tiny things too, maybe as big as the first digit of your thumb. Little bitty creatures. If I'm right, this is a caiman. I'm pretty sure I'm right, but I ain't certain, but I'm pretty sure it's a caiman. And I like this angle because you can see both eyes. It's just real, kind of creepy, but it's a cool angle. Now this is a white-faced monkey. And the white-faced monkey is the one that will invade your stuff. This was the first white-faced monkey we saw when we got to Costa Rica, and it was up in a tree right above the boat. We were doing a boat ride. If I did my research right, this is an Amazon kingfisher, and a belted one, I believe, is very similar. But this one's got the colorations of an Amazon kingfisher, and to see these was kind of special from what I could understand. But it seemed like I saw them on every other tree. But then again, there were ringed kingfishers and belted kingfishers, and there were so many of them. I thought I like the pose with its tail feathers up. It's just cute. I couldn't pass it up. Now this is a Scarlet Rumped Tannager, and if I could get a picture of the back of this little guy, you would see that there's a big red patch on its back. Right on its rump. But I kept trying to get a good photo of these guys, and they're so black that the picture, you had to overexpose the photo to insanity to get detail in their feathers. You just couldn't get a good photo of them. It was just impossible. And I've seen them in several places. Okay, this is also a Cherry's Tannager, but it's a lot closer. I did not crop my images for this video. These are the resolution as I got them. I shot some of these with the Z6 and the 500, and some of them with the 500 and 1.4 tele, and some of them with the Z50 and the 500s, and it's hard to tell which is which. I would have to go through the metadata to figure it out. This is what a white-faced monkey looks like when you won't let it have your sugar for your coffee in the mornings. They get very upset with you, and they scream at you, and they are not very scared of you. This one was on a handrail about 15 feet away on another balcony right beside our room in Manuel Antonio, Costa Rica. This is a golden hooded tanager. Golden hooded tanager. And this was one of my favorite birds. Just look at it. You just see why. This one and the blue motmot. They're just so colorful. Just real beautiful little extravagant birds, just colored up like mad. I've seen several of these, but this was the closest one. Now this bird is called the white-throated magpie jay. And if you notice, it's got them two little feathers sticking up off of its head. And it looks kind of like a blue jay, but it's got real long tail feathers and them two little feathers sticking up on its head. And I tried and tried and tried to get a better photo all the time I was there, because I thought they're real exotic birds. They'd come down to the restaurant, but I could never get a photo because people would shoo them away because they'd come down to your table and try to eat. This is your ambiguous osprey, and they were quite prevalent on the coastal areas. We saw a bunch of ospreys down by the coast. I thought this one was pretty because he was looking straight at me when I took his photo. This is a land crab. You see that mud he's sitting on? That's their little houses they build. They take the dirt out of the swamp and build little mud houses and live just above the water line. They're cute. They just sit on the side when you go by and watch you go by. It's kind of neat. Now this is one of the ones that I hunted, and I think it's a blue egret. You can see we were pretty close. And it was just, it's a real regal bird and real pretty, but I had trouble coming up with an ID for it. All right, this little guy is called a Mangrove Warbler. They nicknamed it the Queen of the Mangrove, and the boat guide kept calling it that over and over and over. But it was a real flittery little bird, and I tried and tried and tried to get a full shot of it without one of the mangrove roots in the way. This was the best I got. Now this one is a great Kiskadee, and it's in the Flycatcher family. And these things are thick as thieves. They're everywhere, but they're real pretty birds. Now this one is one of the ones I just don't know. Do y'all know what this is? Because I cannot figure it out. I've looked and looked and looked and looked, and I can't come up with what kind of bird this is. Maybe somebody in the comments will let me know. And in this next picture, you'll see that it's a pair of Scarlet Macaws. This is the best photo I got of Scarlet Macaws the whole time I was in Costa Rica. I saw pictures of people feeding them out of their hotel room windows, and like pictures of them sitting on the balconies at pools. And this next photo is a dusky capped flycatcher, from the best I can dig up on the interweb. Its head's not in a shadow. Its head is actually just gray, and it fades to that pale yellow underbelly with the brown wings and the little dusty brown capped tuft of feathers on its head. Now this bird is kind of weird. This is what is called a Coco wood creeper. There's a Coco wood creeper, and then there's another one, and they're only like 1 inch difference in length. And I'm pretty sure this is the Coco one because of the coloring of the head and all. It looks like it is. But I'm guessing it could be the other one. But they're both wood creepers. Just one is like 1 inch longer than the other, from what I could tell. Now this guy's a flame-colored Tannager, and we'll see another photo of one of these in a minute, a little bit closer. But just to give you an idea at distance, that's how bright, neon fluorescent kind of colored orange and yellow this bird is. Now this is a two-toed sloth, not a three-toed sloth. The difference, the three-toed sloth has a stripe on its eye, comes off of its eye and runs back across its head in a black stripe, and the two-toed sloths do not. This one's actually got a baby with it laying on its belly, and it's kind of hard to tell, but there's one there. That's what the little wad of stuff is right above him. Okay, this next photo is of a yellow-throated toucan. Duh, I mean, look at the yellow, but that's what it's called. There's a bunch of different toucans, come to find out, but they love to eat these berries off the various trees and fruit. They love fruit, you know. This one was at a resort. This is a wild toucan. We saw some in captivity too, but this one actually just flew up into this tree right above me. It was maybe 25, 30 feet up in the tree. This one I shot with the Z50 and the 500mm phase Fresnel. I know what I was using that day. At first you would think this is one of those scarlet rumped tanagers, but it's not. This is a crimson collared tanager because of its head. I didn't even realize. I thought it was one of the other ones when I took the photo. Now, at first glance, you see this little blue bird, but actually, this is a pair of red-legged honey creepers. There's a female directly above him. I didn't even notice the female bird when I saw the male. The male is the blue and the female is the green one directly above him on the same limb. Now, this is one of the bazillion hummingbirds in Costa Rica. This one is currently asleep. It's roosted in a tree, and we went on a night hike, and the guide actually found it with a flashlight. It was probably 10, 12 feet off the trail. It was over, and you can see it's in some little foliage. But yeah, they sleep with their head up. It's kind of interesting. This is a very active squirrel going in a hole in a tree. I almost had the photo of the squirrel, and that's all I got by the time I got the camera ready and got it focused. That's what I could find of it. I figured I'd share that with you guys. It was just funny. This next one is what is known as a common black hawk. It's about the size of a red-tailed hawk, and they're pretty common in Costa Rica from what I understand. But look at those talons down below the tree limb. This is a barn owl. You probably have seen them anywhere on Earth. They're pretty much like the most prolific bird on Earth. You can find them pretty much everywhere. They were digging holes into this embankment on a river and making nests in those little dens. And we saw a couple of these dens on that ride. This one didn't have any young in it. The next one down has young. There's little young ones in it, but they were back in the back of the little den, and my camera couldn't resolve that dark area real well, and you can't see them in the pictures hardly. This is an iguana. Looks a lot like a dinosaur, doesn't it? I just happened to catch it looking around the corner of a tree and got that eyeball in frame. I thought, man, it just is so epic looking. You know, it's a common creature, but you know, it just looks cool. So I just wanted to share that photo. Now these little guys are black-neck stilts, if I've got them ID'd correctly. There was a bunch of them that day. They're cute little birds. I had never seen them before, but they're all along the riverbanks in the interior. And if you'll notice, in the background by the tree line is an iguana sitting there sunning. This little guy is called a southern lapwing. If I've got him ID'd right, it's a southern lapwing. If the guide was telling the story correctly, these are from like Brazil, and they migrate north for whatever reason. And he says they only see them for a little while, and then they go back to Brazil. But yeah, I thought, look at the eye on that little bird. It's beautiful. Now this is a well-camouflaged parrot. This particular parrot is what is known as a southern mealy parrot. If I've got him ID'd right, it's a southern mealy because that little patch of orange on his wing. And that's how you can kind of tell which one is which, is they have a little bit of color here and there on them, and it kind of IDs what kind of parrot they are. Here we have a little blue egret. If I've got him ID'd right, I think it's a blue egret. Now you can tell me if I'm wrong, because I am not opposed to being corrected. You guys can leave comments and let me know if this is right or wrong, but supposedly it's a little blue egret. And he was digging up like some kind of creatures out of the beach sand right there on the side of the river. This is a red Lord Parrot, based on the coloring of the little plume on his forehead and the yellow around his eye. That's the best I got to come up with for this guy. And of course this one lit in a tree, and they don't, like I said, they don't sit still very long, and typically they're in pairs. You don't see just one, so the other one was probably just out of camera shot. This is a Sparrow-Tailed Cot. I had never seen one of these before either. Real beautiful birds. They soar real gracefully, and they take like zero air to get lift. They can just soar pretty much indefinitely. These were at the Arenal volcano, Volcan Arenal, in the central portion, what they call the Central Valley. And every morning there was like probably the better part of 6 or 8 of them would basically make their way across the valley, soaring in circles looking for prey, and then they'd soar back. And they would glide by so slow, I was able to get decent photos of a couple of them. And the last one in the string is of a pigeon. It's just like a red-billed pigeon, but it's beautiful. Look at the purple color. I mean, the pigeons we have back at home are gray and just kind of boring, and you know, you don't see, even their pigeons are colorful. It's just incredible. And that's it. I appreciate you guys watching, and if you enjoyed my video, then I'd like a thumbs up, you know, the usual stuff. And the subscribe button is right down there. But until next time, get your camera out and go take a picture with it, all right? I'll see you later. Bye-bye.